Alternative ending for Game of Thrones. Part 1. A Song of Betrayal. The sun sets over Winterfell, painting the sky in shades of orange and crimson. Jon Snow stands atop the battlements, his gaze fixed on the horizon, haunted by the memories of King's Landing engulfed in flames. The cries of innocent lives lost echo in his mind. Tyrion Lannister approaches, his footsteps hesitant, his face etched with guilt and despair. "Jon." Tyrion begins, his voice heavy. "She's not the queen we hoped for." In his hand, he holds a charred child's toy, a stark reminder of Daenerys' wrath. Jon's voice trembles as he responds, "She freed us from tyranny." But at what cost? His words hang in the air, a question he cannot answer. In the throne room of Dragonstone, Daenerys stands before a large map of Westeros. Her eyes burn with determination as she sharpens her plans for domination. Grey Worm enters, his posture rigid as he informs her of whispers of rebellion in the north. Daenerys' lips curl into a cold smile. "The north remembers, but fire consumes all," she declares, her voice a chilling promise. A raven arrives at Winterfell, bearing Daenerys' decree. All must swear fealty or face the flames. The northern lords, gathered in the Great Hall, murmur in unease. Sansa Stark rises, her expression resolute. "Will not bow to another tyrant," she states firmly, her words met with nods of agreement. Jon looks to the raven's message, his face a mask of conflict, as Tyrion whispers, "We have to act, Jon, before she burns us all." Part 2. The Seeds of Rebellion. In the dead of night, Jon meets Sansa and Arya in the Godswood. The ancient weirwood tree looms over them, its red leaves rustling in the cold breeze. Sansa's voice is steady, but filled with urgency. "We can't fight her alone," she says. "We need allies." Arya, ever the warrior, tightens her grip on the hilt of her dagger. "What about the Vale, the Tullys? They'll answer our call." Jon hesitates. Rallying the North means war, and war means more blood. Meanwhile, in Dragonstone, Daenerys sits on her throne, Grey Worm at her side. Varys' words still echo in her mind. "Every time a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin." Her hand trembles as she clutches the dragon-shaped armrest. "I will not be betrayed again," she declares. "The North will kneel, or they will burn." A shadowy figure enters Daenerys' war council, Yara Greyjoy, pledging the Iron Fleet to her cause. Part 3. Fire and Blood. Arya presses herself against the cold stone walls of the cave, her heart pounding as Drogon's roar echoes above. She waits, breathless, until the dragon's shadow passes. Emerging cautiously, she observes Daenerys from a hidden alcove. The queen's expression is one of unyielding resolve as she commands her generals. "Winterfell will burn," Daenerys says, her voice cutting through the air like a blade. Back in Winterfell, Jon gathers the northern lords in the Great Hall. Their faces are weary, their spirits low. "We've faced worse," Jon begins, his voice steady. "The Night King, Ramsay Bolton, the Lannisters. We've fought for our home before, and we will again." Sansa steps forward, her presence bolstering Jon's words. "The North remembers," she says, her voice carrying the weight of history. Grey Worm leads Daenerys' forces northward, the unsullied march in perfect formation, their discipline unwavering. As they approach Winterfell, Arya's raven arrives with a warning. The North prepares for battle. The armies clash under a snow-filled sky, and Jon comes face to face with Grey Worm on the battlefield. Their swords meet, but both hesitate, their loyalty and honor tested. Part 4. Shadows of the Past. Bran calls for a council meeting, his voice calm but urgent. "The Night King's magic lingers," he says. "Drogon is more than a dragon now. His fire fuels the darkness." The room falls silent as Bran's words sink in. Arya infiltrates Daenerys' inner circle, posing as a handmaiden. Her sharp instincts keep her safe, but the constant proximity to Daenerys tests her resolve. She listens as Daenerys discusses her plans with Grey Worm. "The North's defiance cannot go unanswered," Daenerys says. "Winterfell will be a lesson." Tyrion confronts Jon in the crypts of Winterfell. "You have the blood of the dragon, but you're a Stark at heart," Tyrion says. "If you don't act, she'll destroy everything you love. Jon's silence speaks volumes, his internal conflict written on his face. Daenerys turns her piercing gaze toward Arya, a flicker of recognition in her eyes. Part 5. The Flames of Vengeance. The sky above Winterfell glows red as Daenerys launches her assault. Drogon's flames scorch the outer walls, sending defenders scattering in panic. Sansa orders the civilians to retreat into the crypts, her voice firm as she takes command. "We hold the gates as long as we can," she says, her eyes blazing with determination. Jon rides into the fray, his sword cutting through the chaos. Grey Worm spots him across the battlefield, their eyes locking. The two warriors clash, their blades sparking as they exchange powerful strikes. "This isn't your fight," Jon says between blows. "Stand down." Grey Worm's reply is a growl. "I fight for my queen." In the crypts, Bran's eyes turn white as he wargs into ravens, scouting the battlefield. Through his vision, he sees Arya infiltrating Daenerys' war camp. She moves like a shadow, her dagger at the ready. Arya stands behind Daenerys, poised to strike. But Drogon suddenly lands, his fiery gaze fixed on her. Part 6. The Dragon's Weakness. Bran's vision reveals an ancient secret. Dragonglass, combined with Valyrian steel, can sever the bond between a dragon and its rider. Sansa relays this to Jon, who orders a desperate mission to Dragonstone to retrieve the materials. Arya, cornered by Drogon, narrowly escapes through the camp's chaos. Daenerys' voice echoes in the distance, commanding her forces to press the attack. "No mercy," she declares. In Winterfell, the northern forces hold their ground, using the castle's defenses to their advantage. Tyrion joins the fight, proving his worth despite his small stature. His wit and strategy turn the tide in key moments. Jon receives word that the Dragonglass has been secured, but Daenerys herself is en route to Winterfell, with Drogon ready to deliver the final blow. Part 7. The Last Hope. As the northern forces regroup, Sansa rallies the remaining defenders within Winterfell's walls. Her voice cuts through the fear. "We are not just fighting for survival. We are fighting for our home, our legacy. The North will not fall." Meanwhile, Jon leads a small team southward to intercept the Dragonglass shipment. Among them are Arya, her face set with determination, and Gendry, who carries a freshly forged Valyrian steel spear. The journey is treacherous, with enemy scouts lurking at every turn. As the Dragonglass arrives, Bran works to craft the weapon that will sever Drogon's connection to Daenerys. His hands tremble slightly as he explains the significance of the ritual, his voice monotone yet urgent. "This will either save us or doom us all." As Jon's team returns, they are ambushed by a battalion of Unsullied, led by Grey Worm. A tense standoff ensues, with both sides unwilling to yield. Part 8. The Bonds That Break. The battlefield grows eerily quiet as Jon steps forward to confront Grey Worm. "We've spilled enough blood," Jon pleads. "This war isn't ours, it's hers." Grey Worm hesitates, memories of Missandei flickering across his face. For the first time, doubt clouds his resolve. Before he can respond, arrows rain down from unseen archers, plunging both sides into chaos. Back in Winterfell, Tyrion sneaks into the crypts to convince Bran of a desperate plan. "She'll never stop," Tyrion says, his voice low. "If we sever her connection to Drogon, we must also sever her hold on the throne." Bran's gaze is distant, his voice haunting. "The dragon may fall, but the Queen's fire burns too fiercely to be extinguished easily." As Arya infiltrates the ambushers' ranks, she discovers that not all are unsullied. They are mercenaries from Essos, and they carry a secret message bearing Daenerys' next target. The Aerie. Part 9. Betrayal and Alliance. Arya's revelation reaches Sansa just as the surviving lords of the Vale arrive to bolster Winterfell's defenses. The Aerie stands as a critical stronghold, but its destruction would cement Daenerys' dominance over the north. Sansa calls for an emergency council meeting. "We cannot fight her alone. We need allies, even if they are unlikely ones." To the surprise of all, Sansa suggests reaching out to the Ironborn and the remnants of House Lannister. Enemies in war, perhaps, but now we share a common threat. Meanwhile, Jon confronts Daenerys at the gates of Winterfell, attempting one final time to reason with her. "You once freed the oppressed," Jon says. "Now you've become the oppressor." Daenerys' expression hardens, her eyes aflame. The world must be cleansed for it to be reborn. Drogon circles above Winterfell, his roar echoing as Jon unsheathes his blade, prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. Part 10. The Fall of Fire. As Drogon descends upon Winterfell, Bran channels his powers to weaken the dragon's will. His eyes glow fiercely, veins of blue and red coursing through his temples. Drogon hesitates mid-flight, his wings faltering, giving Jon and his team their opening. Arya and Gendry charge forward, armed with the dragonglass-tipped spear. Arya's agility allows her to evade Drogon's flames, while Gendry hurls the spear with precision. The weapon pierces Drogon's scales, and a deafening screech fills the air. Daenerys watches in horror as her dragon thrashes in pain, his bond to her severed. She screams, "No!" and rushes toward Drogon, but is intercepted by Grey Worm, who blocks her path. "Enough, my queen," Grey Worm says, his voice heavy with sorrow. "No more blood." Daenerys, betrayed by her closest ally, draws a dagger and points it toward Grey Worm, her madness fully consuming her. Part 11. The Last Sacrifice. In the chaos, Jon approaches Daenerys, his heart heavy with grief and love. She turns to him, tears streaming down her face, the dagger still in her hand. "You could have been by my side," she says. "We could have changed the world together." Jon's voice trembles. "Not like this, Dany. Not with fire and blood." Daenerys lunges at Jon, but he disarms her with ease. Arya emerges from the shadows, her dagger poised, but Jon raises a hand to stop her. "She was our queen once," Jon says. "Her end will not be written in vengeance." Daenerys is taken into custody, her fate to be decided by the surviving leaders of Westeros. The echoes of Drogon's final roar fade into silence as the battlefield stills. Part 12. A Song of Redemption and Ruin. Winterfell stands battered but triumphant, its walls blackened by dragonfire, yet unbroken. The surviving Northerners gather in the Great Hall to decide Daenerys' fate. Tyrion, his face heavy with both sorrow and determination, takes the floor. She believed she was bringing peace, Tyrion says, his voice trembling, but peace cannot come through fear and fire. Jon, bloodied and weary, steps forward. His gaze shifts to Daenerys, who stands chained before them, her once fiery eyes now dimmed. "She's not the queen I thought she was," he says, "but death is not the answer." Sansa rises, her voice cutting through the tension. "We've seen what happens when power corrupts. Let her live, stripped of titles, stripped of power. Let her see the world she sought to rule without her flames." The decision is made. Daenerys is sentenced to live out her days as a prisoner on Dragonstone, guarded and alone, with only the echoes of her past choices to keep her company. Drogon, sensing his mother's broken spirit, flies away into the horizon, never to be seen again. As the council disperses, Arya announces her decision to leave Westeros and explore what lies west of the known world. "I've always been a wolf," she tells Sansa, "but I need to find where my own path leads." Jon, burdened by his Targaryen lineage and the choices he has made, relinquishes his claim to the throne. He returns to the Wall, seeking solace and redemption among the remnants of the Night's Watch. The North, under Sansa's wise leadership, remains independent, a kingdom that remembers its history and learns from its scars. Bran, ever the quiet observer, is chosen by the remaining lords of Westeros to take the Iron Throne. His wisdom and neutrality promise a new era, one guided not by ambition, but by a desire for balance. As the snow falls gently over the north, Tyrion stands at Winterfell's gates, watching the people rebuild. "Perhaps we've learned," he murmurs to himself. "Perhaps we've finally broken the wheel." This is the end of Alternative Ending for Game of Thrones. If you liked the story, please subscribe and like the video.